What's good, y'all? Sampling with Breez, aka It's a Breeze. And I call it It's a Breeze because I've been sampling for years, taught by the one and only DJ Tricks from Spanish Fly. Don't know who he is? Look him up, you'll find out. Anyway, sampling is an art form. It's not easy. Like, even though anybody says anybody could take a sample, anybody can do that. No, you can't. Because I've heard samples that quite frankly made me want to sample like a throw up sound, you know what I'm saying? But sampling takes time. It takes the formula of keeping the original track intact, making it sound good, but then able to put your spin on it. That's why I'm saying sampling is an art form. You have to know how to take that sample that everybody knows and loves without getting criticized for destroying it, or either elevating it and keeping it as its original form and giving it your touch. So in other words, let me give you a little example. This is the sample we're going to be playing with. This is one of our favorite old school tracks from Chaka Khan called What You Gonna Do For Me. Here you go. Check it out. That funky beat, you hear that? Keep all that in mind. So we got to take that already classic and put our spin on it. Can we do it? Damn right we can. This is how. So this is one of my favorite editing tools right here. This is I'm from the old school. Yes, I do have Pro Tools. I have all that good stuff, but not everybody does. Not everybody can get their hands on it, so everybody got to use what they can. So most people either have Adobe Audition or Edit Pro, so I'm going to use this one, Edit Pro. So, by the way, it's free. You can go type Edit Pro. You'll find it in a shareware program, and you can follow along. So, now we got to find and somehow make the song ours, right? Cool. So, I already took the sample, or I already took the loop, and this is the original. So that's the loop, and if I just loop it, got to make sure your loop is perfect, otherwise you get this little kind of space and you don't want to know what you have to deal with. Now if you notice, the bass line is gone, the drums is gone. It's because I took them out. And the way you do that is you pretty much go here, you go to the effects, you go to the filter, you see where it says graphic equalizer, you click that, and I do this to every sample. So keep in mind it's not just this one. I do it to every sample. And as you can see, if you keep scrolling down, you will see something that says simple bass cut. You see that? Simple bass cut. I always put it down to 0 like that. Always take it completely out. That way you don't have that bass line or those drums interfering when you're gonna put it into Reason, which is where we're gonna get to later. I always make sure I pull all that out. At the same time, the reason you say I didn't apply it, I already did it. So next thing I do is I go to my filters, and there's a couple filters in here that I always play with. One of them is heavy and wide. This will give that surround sound. So you ever hear something that's dead stuck in the middle, this will give it like the whole surround sound. So I usually use this. It's mastering heavy and wide. I'll take that, and that's all I do with the sample. So now that you got rid of all that information, now you have the sample the way you want. You put it in here into Reason. Let me get rid of this one because this is another one that I was already working on. So let's just get that one out of here. Okay. So this is where the sample, this is Reason, obviously. A lot of people, like I said, they have their choices. And if you're using Fruity Loops, you can also do it through there. Same thing, you're just going to import the sample. Now here's the sample. And as you can see, it's already broken down. See, Chaka Khan, What You Gonna Do For Me? That's the sample. Now, here's the crazy thing. Right now, the sample is like this, right? Pretty fast. What we want to do is we want to give it our touch, and we want to make it you know, something maybe rappable or a remix to. So I always like to pick 42-100. So now if you listen to the sample, so it's a little slower now. So you want to save it, obviously, and then you want to bring it back in because now it's going to have that slow effect. So you just transfer it in. See that? Now, here's where it does get a little tricky, and I'll show you what I mean. The reason I say is where it can get a little tricky is because obviously if you just import it the way you import it, then it's just going to sound like that. But me, again, I'm me. So even though I took the drums out and I took the bass line out, I still just don't give it any thought. I go over here to the actual EQ. You see how you have treble, bass, and I take the bass all the way down to the minimum. Because if you'll notice, see I have it down in the minimum. But if I put it up and I play the sample, see how you can still kind of still hear the bass line. But if I put it all the way down to 0, now there's no bass line. And it's perfect because now you get the effect you want. So here's the sample. You seen I took the bass to nothing. Now the volume, I'll always put it at 106, and I'll tell you why. When I put it at 106 and I go here to the actual sample channel, you'll see it's at 100. So if I put at 106 here on the EQ, it won't affect the sample on the channel itself. It's just going to give it the little boom, the little boost it needs to be heard. So when you EQ it, it's not going to be affected at all. So now we have that. Next, got to get the tempo. So you see I already found the tempo of the actual sample. It's 101.200. Now there's times where I've heard samples that sound like this. Did you hear that? Did you hear that little pause at the end? Look. That little pause itself destroys anything you're doing. So as long as you get the right tempo, like here, see 101.200, you won't hear it. Watch. See, the pause is gone. Now, I also like to use the little click, 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 you know, that little tempo finder. I'll show you what I mean. That, as long as it stays on par with the beat, you know you have the right tempo. Like, here you go, look. See, if that thing is off even a little, I'll show you what it sounds like. It's not pretty. You'll know you're off just by doing this. Here at the end, how that tempo started, that little click, click, click started falling off. Look. That's how you know when it's on cue or not. So, with that being said, we now have the tempo. We now have the sound that we want to use. Let me move this back up so we know. We now have everything that we need to start building this sample. So let's go ahead and let's take care of that. So now we have everything we need to start patterning what we want. Now we get the drums, right? Now you could pick any drum you want. I have over a gazillion freaking drum kits because I make them. I'm not the only one out here that makes them. My boy Cryptic makes them. Underground Chemist makes them. product of the 90 makes them. So look them up. They got little drum kits that you can go and buy for very cheap. So yeah, definitely. But this was the best because remember, you want to put your spin to it. You want to make sure the drum hits the way you want. So that's a good kick. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, cool. It's not going to overpower it, and it's going to keep it. Now here's where people go off the rails with their drums. You got to understand when you're using a sample, you kind of want to, again, put your spin to it, but you don't want to take away from the originality. So if I just put one click here on, you see the little drum pattern, it's just going to give me one kick. It's just going to be boom, boom, like every, I think, 8 bars. I'm going to take all this other stuff out just so you can hear the drums. So it's going to go. So every 4 bars. 2 bars. So you see how it's just 1. But, you know, it's got to be more than just 1, right? So I personally, when I do samples like this, I like to keep it 1 and 9. And 1 and 9 kind of gives it this boom, boom, this like space out. You know what I mean? Like here, I'll show you. See that? So it gives it like that doom, doom, doom. It just keeps it on par. Now, there's times I've heard songs that sound like this, and I just want to throw it. Sound like this. That doesn't roll with it. And there's times I've heard it like this. That don't roll. You see what I'm saying? The samples, that's why I say it's very, you gotta know how to sample. So me personally, I'll either do 1 and 9 to just keep that boom, boom. Because when we add the clap, you'll see what I'm talking about. But let's just go do it now and I'll show you what I mean. So the clap we're gonna use is like a clap and a snare that I combined. See what I'm saying? And just remember, no matter what, this is never going to change with the snare, clap, whatever it is that you're going to use there. It's always, always, always 5 and 13. Always 5 and... I can't stress that enough. Always 5 and 13. And I'll show you what I mean. See how that's just a perfect setting right there for those claps. If I don't use 5 and 13, I'll show you kind of what it sounds like. I'll pick 4 and 12. Sounds like a banda beat now, right? So we gotta always make sure you pick 5 and 13. See how it gives it that it gives it that perfect connection. Now, with the drum, going back to the drums, 1 and 9, I said, is what I really just personally use. But sometimes I'll mess with it and I'll pick 1, 7, 9, and it still gives it a pretty good pattern to show you. See, the drum still gives it like a good pattern. So now you got your drums, now you got your kick, now you kind of need like some shakers or, you know, maracas or tam, you know, whatever you want to call them. That's what you need to give it that kind of, fill that empty void. You feel me? So now we got our drums. Now, you can do 1, 9 like I showed you. You could do 1, 7, 9 like I showed you. But for this one, we're going to do 1, 7, 9, 15 because I want that boom, boom at the end of the beat, like the doom, doom. Doom, doom, like the double. I'll show you. See how it goes doom, doom, and it goes perfect with the sample. Look. So that's perfect. Now this can go any way you want. This is the shakers. This is the maracas. This is the cowbell, whatever the hell you're going to use here. The hi-hats, the low hats, the mid hats. The normal pattern would always be 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. And when you get it that way, you get this effect. See that? See how it's constant? But, you know, if you're from the dirty South, you could do the double time. Pretty much, you could do it any way you want. But for this purpose, we're going to go just one space across so we keep it consistent with the... So now you got your shakers. Now you got your hits. Now you got your snare, clap, whatever you want to call it. So you put those three together. Now your beat sounds like this. Pretty dope, right? Your sample's already sounding good. You're like, oh my God, this is easy. Now, there's many ways I play with samples. I can either redo the bass line, which I'd say maybe 75% of the time I do, unless I'm in lazy mode because I'm just making something. There is a lazy method. A lot of people don't know about this method. I'm about to expose it. So many producers use this. They don't want you to know about it because they want you to think that they took the time to actually redo this thing, and they took about maybe 5 to 10 seconds to redo this bass line that they're charging you $1,000 for. So, yes, hate me if you will, but hey man, you ain't gonna rob my people forever. This is how most producers that I've worked with a lot of them kind of take the lazy way, man. And I'll show you what I mean in just a second. So the lazy man method to get your bass line into the song. Now, again, 75, 80%, I'll redo the bass line. But if it's just a lazy day and I just want to get the song done, again, kind of show you a trick. So, remember the sample that we went to? Here it is. This is the original sample. There is an effect that'll take everything out in the filters. You see this filter? And it'll only give you a bass line. Do you see this? Only the subwoofer. Do you hear that? That's the bass line. So what they do is they take this sample, and I'll show you, and here's your bass line now. You see that? And then what they do is they normalize it. Now you have the bass line. The bass line is done. The bass line, all you got to do now is import it into the session, and it's done. It's done for you. You don't have to worry about no bass line. So I basically did the same thing, and here's the bass line. We're gonna take all this out. Bass line is already in here. You hear that? So if we just play this, you see there's no bass line, right? There's nothing there. Now watch this. See how the bass line's in there now? The bass line, you'll always, on the actual sample channel, you'll either want it within 106 or 112 on the sample channel itself. This is either in Reason or Fruity Loops as well. You'll do the same exact thing. And then over here, you notice the bass is perfect. It's right in the middle. I didn't lower it. And the channel equalizer itself, like I always said, 106. So now, look, you have the full sample with bass line. in less than half an hour, I've shown you how to take a sample, flip it, put it to your side, take the bass line out, take the drums out. I've shown you how to create your drums, snare, hi-hat, where to place them in less than half hour. And you've already got this. That's how fast your boy could sample over here. Might take you a little time because, you know, you still have to figure out the tempo. You still have to figure out the placement. You still have to figure out the EQing, you know, and all that. But that's it. That's how fast you get a bass line. And a lot of people know that trick. They just don't tell you. But that's how you do it. So there you go. You have your sample, you have your bass line, you have your drums. It's almost done, right? Now, technically, it really is done. There's your sample. Your sample's completed. But what if you want to add some voice? You know, what about her hook? Remember her hook of the "What You Want to Do for Me"? And then there's the hook. Right? So let's put the drums to her hook. Just that simple, bro. Put the bass line to her hook. That's pretty much it, dude. That's how easy it is. I know people, a lot of producers will just delay you and delay you and delay you and say, man, it takes time. No, it doesn't, bro. I could literally put together a sample track in less than half hour to 45 minutes. It's just something producers like to use to their advantage because you're paying them and you're waiting on them. You're at their mercy and they know it, so they're going to stretch it out. So yeah, that's pretty much how easy it is to sample, y'all. That's how fast it is. This is episode 1, y'all, and it's only gonna get better. Drop in the comments below what sample you want to see me flip that we can flip together. Your recommendation, I'll flip it. I'll show you how I flipped it. That way, hey, the guy who, or girl, guy, girl, whoever recommended the sample can see what I did and say, oh, I'm going to go do that too. I don't care. Use all my methods. I don't care. That's the difference between me and other producers. I don't care. I'm trying to show you what they won't. Anyway, it's your boy Breeze sampling. It's a breeze. You see how easy that is? It's a breeze, y'all. Episode 1 in the books that fast. Peace.